Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Golik. I am the Health and Wellbeing Consultant for Bellin Health, and I really want to thank everyone for joining me today. This is going to be a two-part series, little lunch and learn series called Wellness in the Home Workplace. So we're going to meet for about a half an hour today, and then next week, Wednesday, at the same time, noon, September 30th, we will meet again to go over the rest of the content. So thanks again for joining us. I'll have my contact info at the end if you have additional questions after the presentation. If I can get my PowerPoint to work, we'll be all set here. All right. So I don't think this is news to anyone. The reason that we really wanted to bring this series to you is to give you some extra tips and advice as far as those of you that are continuing to work from home. It's no surprise to anybody that we still continue to kind of deal with the aftermath of COVID. And early on, we were seeing these types of headlines, and forever, things changed for many of us, including our work environment. So for me personally, I just wanted to share, I'll never forget, I actually had joined Bellin very early in the year. I actually started on January 6th. And on March 16th, there was a media conference, and it took place at the building where my office is located. And there was a team approach by all of our healthcare system administrators and Brown County leaders that were really teaming together to get our community prepared for the arrival of COVID. And we literally got done with that particular event, and someone in my department said, I think we need to start working from home. And our VP happened to be on vacation at the time, so we called him and ended up everybody packing up their stuff heading towards home. So we were not the only ones that took that course of action. 88% of organizations have encouraged their employees to work from home since the beginning of the outbreak. And for some people, it was like Oprah giving away a car. How exciting. You get to work from home and you get to work from home. And everybody was soon sitting in their dining rooms and their offices and maybe at their kitchen tables doing their work. But 85% of organizations in Wisconsin took that as their move. So this is my personal setup. I am at the dining room table, and that is where I am currently. And as you can see, I have a coworker involved, and I have some other coworkers that tend to join me on a daily basis too. And they became my new coworkers. And sometimes I love being with them, but sometimes they're really also very distracting to my work. So working remotely can do a lot of different things to us, and a lot of different people may have different opinions on what it's like to work remotely. And here's a graphic that maybe some of the people that kind of think what you have going on if you're still working at home. So sometimes your family maybe thinks you're sitting with your feet up all day, and people that have that long commute to work think that you have that extra time to maybe just relax. And then maybe you have a vision of yourself that you really have it together. But maybe you're also feeling like it's pretty exhausting, and maybe working from home has some challenges, especially to your well-being. And that is really why we decided to bring you this session today. So where we are today as far as the pandemic, I'd be remiss to not tune you into some of the resources available. So this is the Wisconsin Department of Health website, and you can go out there for the current stats. I pulled this off this morning. This was as of yesterday, but we've come a far way from when we were first having that press conference back in March. Obviously, cases have really increased, and there have been a lot of people tested, and now COVID is very much out in our society. And so I think a lot of organizations are choosing to still give people the option of work from home. And in some cases, there are organizations that are encouraging it. So you may be one of those. So I really want to get a gauge for how all of you are feeling if you are also working from home like I am. So what I need you to do is you can either use your phone or you can use your laptop, whatever device you have available. And I want you to go to menti.com, menti.com. And when you get to menti.com, you are going to put in the access code 9948212. And I'll also put that in the chat so everybody has it available. So menti.com, there's your access code. And our first question popping up already. Good job, you guys. Share one word to describe how you have felt during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you can see, as people are putting their words out there, we will see the word cloud in front of us. What's interesting too is that if more than one person says a word, that word gets bigger. And so I am seeing overwhelmed really jump out at us on our screen.
I don't think we're able to see your screen right now.
Oh, I apologize for that. Let me see if I can reshare. Thanks for letting me know. How about that? Are you able to see it now? Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me know. All right, so you can see some of the different words that are going on here. We have anything from roller coaster to worried to tired, isolated, exhausted, nervous. I actually did this presentation once before. We had a lot of the anxious word. The anxious word got really large on our screen. We also had a couple positive words. I had some people that said loved. I had some people that said protected. So we can experience a lot of different emotions with this going on for sure. All right, so our next question, I want to know a little bit about how you all are feeling about working at home. If you're working at home, here are your options. You should see that next question on your device. So A, I can't wait to get back to the office. B, I'm adjusting. C, any chance of maybe half and half. And then the last one, I could not love it more. Don't ever make me go back. So again, you can kind of see the different people's responses popping up here. I'll just give that a minute. All right, so about half of you right now are saying, hey, any chance of a half and half deal? And I think that's really important for us to recognize, because if that's something that you're interested in, or if you're a leader, this might be something that even when the pandemic settles down, this may be something to discuss with your teams. If people ultimately feel more productive by having some time at home, and that helps them maybe balance some things, especially with some of our children being in school virtually right now, that can be really helpful. But it looks like a lot of you are enjoying maybe being at home enough that you would like to continue doing it. So thanks for sharing that response as well. Then our next question is, what has been your biggest challenge with working at home? So think about what kind of things have impacted you, and go ahead and put that in the response on the question on your phone or your device. What has been your biggest challenge working from home? Balancing kids and work life, absolutely. And I'm sure there are many that would definitely agree with that statement. See if the rest will pop up here. Getting kids their schoolwork done, yes, absolutely. Balancing the needs of kids with work, at times technology, yes. Staying motivated, absolutely. Sometimes when we're not around other people, that feels different. Having printer problems, having the printer necessary to do your job, I agree. My printer was being sassy this morning. The focus, very good. Not having full access to the things you need, absolutely. Not having everything. Not having your usual resources nearby, your workspace, absolutely. Virtual meetings, virtual training, the comfort, space limitations, yeah, staying focused. keep you focused. Yeah, very much. Lots of challenges that go with that. And then my last question I just want to ask, because I also will be diving into the different dimensions of well-being, so I want to know how you all are feeling as far as how you have been affected by the pandemic. And what you'll notice on this question is that you can do a sliding scale. So if you feel not at all financially affected, you can leave that as a 1. But if you feel like you've been majorly financially affected, you can put that as a 5. So you'll want to do that for all of these dimensions of well-being. And then we'll kind of see as a group how we are feeling, where people are feeling the most affected. Okay, so far, our pretty big hitters are going to be social and emotional, also environmental. Definitely a little bit of physical impact, some career impact. And social and emotional kind of are big ones. And ironically, the last time I did this presentation, those were the 2 that had the highest scores as well, were the social and the emotional. So definitely people are feeling it with our distancing measures, and then that absolutely takes an emotional effect on us. Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that. Just interesting to really see what people are experiencing. I think that's so important. All right, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. So as you can see by some stats that were posted by, this is a consulting firm, here are the top challenges that people are facing when they are working from home for the first time. So lack of exercise, we maybe have a lot less spaces to move in, so we're moving less. The technology, as many of you mentioned. Managing the time, I think that also has to do with our focus, trying to figure out and balance all those things. Communicating with your colleagues absolutely is a big one. And then a lot of you commented on this, the juggling kids and working at the same time. And you can see 63% of people polled felt exactly the same way. So some common things that I've heard from some of my colleagues and other people that have done this presentation with, family members driving them crazy, the space setup, feeling like you need people in your presence to feel like working. The technology is tough. And then there are people that say, I have no challenges and I'm doing great. And perhaps you are one of those people. It's different for everyone. So when we look at the dimensions of well-being and we think about ourselves as a whole, and I like to do this and think about this as a wheel on a tire with spokes. So all of these dimensions are part of that wheel. And if one of those spokes gets shortened or it breaks, that can throw everything off balance. So we really want to look at all the dimensions of well-being. None of us are probably ever going to be perfect, so we'll always have 1 or 2 to work on. But in general, we want to pay attention to all of these. And I hear a dog barking, so if everyone can just mute themselves, that would be great. Thank you. All right. So we asked you the question on the Mentimeter, like your dimensions of well-being during being affected. And I did see big readings in social and emotional, but other ones as well. So we're all individual in that way. So hopefully this presentation will kind of help you dig into some of what things are particular to you, and you'll be able to work on those dimensions for yourself. So with everything that has happened, there has been so much change with COVID-19, and a lot of what people may be experiencing, but they're not really realizing it, is a feeling of grief. Grief is a response whenever we lose something. So with everything that has happened with the pandemic, there have been things that we have lost. Perhaps it can be something simple like going for your morning coffee every day with a coworker, or it may be the idea of the routine of going to your office every day. Some of us may have experienced loss of jobs or loss of coworkers and things like that too. So I just want to validate that whatever it is that you are feeling right now, it is entirely okay and it is entirely normal. I think sometimes we end up being our own worst critic in these times, and we just tell ourselves, well, you should just be strong and figure it out. It's okay. Give yourself a break. Give yourself the validation that you've gone through a lot of change in these last 6 months. And so you may be feeling some grief. It's hard when you lose something, and it's okay if you are experiencing that, because I think that many of us indeed are. This is a graphic that I came across early in the pandemic, and I loved it enough that I actually did a little video on it. And for those of you that are interested, you can follow our Lifesaver Wellbeing series both on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And this is a graphic that I did a little video on, and really asking ourselves, who do I want to be during COVID-19? So there are some different zones that we may fall into. And you may kind of hop around in these zones as well, but the point of the graphic is to really maybe challenge ourselves to move into a better place by the choices that we make. Because even as much as we can't control what's going on with the virus and we can't control some of the things that are going on around us, we can make some choices in how we're going to react and hopefully how we're going to try to frame something. So the first zone is that fear zone. So that's really if you're complaining all the time, you're transmitting a lot of anger and negative emotions onto others. Maybe in that hoarding phase, we saw that some of that early on. How do we move ourselves into the learning zone? So maybe letting go of some of the things that you can't control. Verifying information before you share it, not causing panic with your family and friends. And acknowledging truly that everyone is trying their best. And another tip is that, do I need to stop compulsively consuming things that harm me? And that can be anything from food to the news. So as much as we want to stay informed, you may come to a point where you need to limit some of these things for yourselves, and we need to make that decision. I know that there were times in this pandemic where I stopped watching the news, and my husband would just read some things in the morning. He would give me the updates, and that was all I needed. So I just knew that that was causing me more harm than good, so I stopped taking in as much news. So we can make those decisions for ourselves. Ultimately, then, we really want to try and move into the growth zone. So anytime we are faced with a challenge, we also have immense opportunity to grow from it. So we are growing, my friends. The last 6 months, you've probably grown in ways you never could have imagined. But this is a good thing, because it is making us into stronger, better people. I truly believe that. So how do we move ourselves into the growth zone? Thinking about how you can help others, that can be a really nourishing thing for us to do, using your skills to help the ones in need. Showing empathy to those and those around you. I've noticed a lot of road rage throughout the summer, and I think we all just need to show a little bit more empathy to people. We also want to look at, how can I live in the present? How can I live in the present and maybe focus on the future? That's another coping strategy that can really help. And then showing gracefulness is another tool that can help us grow. Finding ways to adapt, which I know all of you have already done in this last 6 months, and you'll continue to do. And then how can you practice calmness, patience, relationships, and creativity? So asking ourselves, how can I grow and continue to be better at that? So this was actually a graphic that I was exposed to on a virtual conference that I attended about mental health and well-being. And this is a graphic that was developed by Martin Sigelman, the 5 dimensions of a good life. And so it's PERMA. So the question is, are you permalicious? And I just love this graphic, because I think when we're faced with challenges in our life, we can also tune in not just to the dimensions of well-being, but we can tune into some of these particular areas and ask ourselves, how are we doing in that way? So if we think about positive emotions, how do you get positive emotions? What do you do to bring yourself positive emotions? Maybe it's listening to music. Maybe it's calling a really good friend. Those simple types of things. That also links into engagement. How do we get engaging? So if you're not feeling engaged in your job, can you seek out ways to get more engaged, especially with working from home? Seeking out those positive relationships. I know that I'm a lot better person to be around when I'm with positive people. That just shines on me and that helps me be more positive. So how can we focus on that? It's also good to think about our accomplishments. So all of us have really accomplished some amazing things in the last 6 months. So give yourself credit for that. It might even be fun to make yourself a little list. And then what are you doing that's providing meaning? What are you doing on a daily basis or weekly basis that really gives your life some type of meaning? And I would just encourage you to seek that out as well. All right, so one of the things that I just really want to touch on, because it's really important in this virtual environment, is to stay connected to our team. So I know that there may be people out there that are feeling disconnected and they're feeling like they're not included because they may be at home. So I really challenge you all to be intentional about this, and anybody can do it. So in our team, Business and Community Health at Bellin Health, we've done some intentional things to keep that team connected, and it's been fun. We've done a little scavenger hunt. We did a getting to know you trivia where we had different facts about people and we tried to guess who that was. We also celebrated our vice president's birthday from afar because he was having a birthday. So everybody held up signs, and I made this little cutout of him with a hat on. So for those of you that know him, you can tell him a little belated happy birthday. But we have to be intentional in keeping our team together. When we are working from afar, we do need to find those ways to communicate and share experiences. And what I would challenge you to do is I would challenge you to step outside of the work frame of all of that and think about how you can just bond people, because that is a dimension of well-being that's really important. It helps you feel more supported. It helps your team members feel more supported. So it's just a win-win for everyone. So try to see if you can work that in. So we're going to jump into the dimensions of well-being now. And as I said, this is a two-part series. So we're going to start with a couple of them today, and then we will be covering the rest of them on our next Lunch and Learn next Wednesday at 1. So let's start with physical. And I love the cartoon, Why the 19 in COVID, because that's how much weight you're going to gain from constantly raiding the fridge. And maybe some of you have struggled with that. And it's important for us to pay attention to the physicality of what is going on here. So here are some tips to hopefully help you with that dimension. Setting up a schedule is really important, and I'm sure many of you have heard this already if you've been working remotely for a while, but it's important to have that same structure because that's going to feel more motivated. It's going to make you feel more motivated, and you're going to feel more focused if you have some structure. I also invite you to use different spaces in your home. So try some different things out. It might just be kind of refreshing for you. That might also help your focus to set up different scenery for yourself. Make it a priority to move. Like we said earlier, it has been a challenge because we are definitely in a smaller environment perhaps than we were when we were at the office. So make it a priority to move. And you can do that by setting an alarm. If you have a Fitbit, you can set it up so it vibrates every hour if you're not getting enough steps. I also invite you to try something new. Just try something new. I know it may sound a little bit corny to get up and do squats by your desk or do push-ups or take a stretch break, but these are the things that can really help our physical well-being. And also as far as physical, use this as an opportunity to maybe sign up for a remote workout class or try out an app that you haven't tried out before. It's important to schedule those breaks. So I know that early on for myself, I was really glued to my chair because there was so much going on. And I found myself starting to have a little back pain, a little shoulder pain. So now I've really made it a priority to make sure that I'm at least getting up a couple times a day, maybe taking a walk, letting the dog out, whatever it happens to be. It's important to give ourselves that physical break, but it's also important for our minds. So make sure that you're doing that. Set an alarm on your calendar if you need to. Take those breaks. The other part that may have been affected physically is your sleep. Certainly with some of the fears and concerns, anxiety going on with the pandemic, maybe your sleep has really been affected even more so. But already before the pandemic, 1 in 3 adults were not getting the recommended amount of sleep. So I really would advise you to look at your sleep and maybe take a look at how you can make that a bigger priority, maybe having some type of routine at night to help your body know that it's time for bed, shutting off those phones and those laptops to lessen that blue light exposure. Also, in terms of physicality, we can't surpass nutrition. I put the graphic of the fruits there because I really think it's important for us to eat a rainbow of foods. Really look at your food. How much color is in that food? What kind of vitamins and nutrients are you getting? So if you vary the colors, you're going to vary those vitamins and nutrients, and that's going to continue to help you too. Because one of the things that we want to also do is be aware that we want to build up our immune system so that we're as healthy as we can be, and all those good vitamins and nutrients will do that. And of course, because we at Bellin Health really want to remind you, we want to remind you to wash your hands, wear a mask, and of course, reach out to our Bellin resources for any other help that you may need. And certainly, if you aren't feeling well and things don't feel right, please contact your primary provider. If you don't have one, we can certainly set you up with someone. So I think one of the good things that has happened during the quarantine has been that people have gotten outside and have moved more. So I've noticed on some local trails and those types of things that people really are moving more. So use that as a bright spot and keep moving. All right, so we are going to pause there. Please join us next week for part 2. We are going to continue this. We are going to dive into the rest of the dementias of well-being. So we'll be talking about that social, we'll be talking about that emotional, career, finances. We'll also touch on a little bit about being at home with kids. So I hope that you can join me. I will be sending out this recording. If for some reason you are not on our list, feel free to send us an email at wellnessconsultant@bellin.org. I'll make sure to add you to the list. Otherwise, I'll send out this recording, and then you'll also be receiving the invite for next week. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. Hopefully you get out and enjoy this beautiful weather and have a great rest of the day.